So now that you know how to play an E major chord, we're going to talk about the A major chord. If you look at it, it should be a fairly simple chord to play. It uses 1, 2, 3 fingers, you'll see, and a couple of open strings. But if you'll notice, there's one symbol we haven't talked about, which is the X on the low E string. X means don't play that string. You can just strum from the A string towards the ground and not hit the low E string. That effectively X's out that string. You're not strumming it, therefore it won't make noise. But a lot of us will do this. We'll use our thumb, which isn't really doing much, and we'll bring that fleshy part of the thumb right there, which is kind of just like a pillow, and we will set it against the low E string. Now, if you have particularly small hands, this might not work for you. If you take that little pillow and put it against the low E string, you get a thud, like that. So this sounds like this. Thud. When you see, oh, I don't know, whoever your idol happens to be, they're not like, hello, thanks for coming, Salt Lake City, we love you. No, it's and yet something has to mute that low E string, or it'll sound like this, which is not what we want. We want that E, that A, the note A, to be the lowest note we hear in the chord. That's what we call thumb muting. Again, my classical friends would probably freak out about that. No, David, do not say that. You must keep your thumb behind the neck the whole time, like this. Fine, they can have their opinion, but I can have mine too. And mine is that it's fine to use your thumb. And someday, when we're playing bar chords and stuff, absolutely, we'll bring the thumb back and use it as a support. It is a great trick to use that thumb to mute the low E string. So let's talk about how to play that A major chord. There is an X on the low E string, which again means avoid hitting it or mute it with a thumb. But the rest of the chord is 0 on the A string, which is open. It's got a 1 in the 2nd fret of the D string, sounds like this. A 2 in the 2nd fret of the G string. A 3 in the 2nd fret of the B string. And then an open high E. That's an A major chord. Now, one tricky thing about this A major chord, I've been teaching for a long time, and this is the one chord I really don't care how you finger it. Some people play it 1, 2, 3, which is what I'm doing now. The problem with that is that pointer finger is way far away from the fret, and it makes it sometimes to get a perma-burning or a permanent dead guy. So you have to push down with some beef. That's my preferred fingering for the chord, for now anyway. There are some people, however, who finger it like this. They swap their middle finger and their pointer finger from the chord fingering I was just showing you. And so the fingering is now same frets, but now it's open A, 2nd finger on the D string, pointer finger on the G string, ring finger still on the B, and then open E up top. There are even some people who play it like this. They use 2, 3, 4 instead of 1, 2, 3. Same fingering, but now we're going to go middle finger gets the D string, 3rd finger gets the G string, pinky gets the B string. So those are 3 completely acceptable ways to play the A chord. That's how you play an A major chord. Again, I think the way you should practice it is at first announce to the crowd, this is a song off my 2nd album. I like to call it A major, you rock. And play the A major chord, check for dead guys. Oh good, yay me. Strum it, mute the strings, take your hand off and do this, and then there we go. Try it again. Ah, oh there it is. Etc. for 5 minutes. So if you learn the E major chord, the A major chord, there are songs you can actually start playing right away. Here are a couple. Ay, ay, rancho grande, ay, a donde viví. It's true. Here's another one. La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar, porque no falta. It's another one. Let's talk some, I don't know, other styles of music besides the ranchera music that I grew up next to in the Arizona. You can play, for example, this song. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think he'd understand. That's an E chord. I don't remember the words, but I'm that whole song, which made like $1 bazillion, uses 2 chords the whole time. It uses an A major chord, and then transitions to an E major chord, then transitions back to an A major chord. The whole song. Now that's not a bad thing. Let me clarify that simple does not mean bad, it just means simple. Simple is simple, complex is complex, and neither one is good or bad. So, and there are other songs too that just use those 2 chords, but that's a good one to get you started. But there are others that are waiting. If we can expand by 1 chord and not just play E and A, if we can add a D chord to it, now we're talking. So let's talk about how to play a D major chord. D major, of course, is its official name. Most of us just call it D. This is how to play a D major chord. It has 2 X's this time. X on the low E string, X on the A string, an open D string, and then the rest of the strings are closed. Pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the G, 3rd finger, 3rd fret of the B string, and then 2nd finger on the high E string, 2nd fret. The official name of that chord again is D major. We call it D, a D chord. Now, how to mute those lowest 2 strings? You can again avoid them with your pick, or you can use your thumb. Now, my thumb has, since I've been playing since approximately 1822, I was young. Oh, so was the country. But since I've been playing for so long, my hands have kind of stretched. Check this out. It's going to kind of freak you out a little bit. Don't be afraid. But look, I'm stretching my hands out both as far as I can go. My left hand, my fretting hand, stretches a lot further because over time, the same will happen to yours. So I have the ability to mute both my E string and A string with the pillow of my thumb. Some people have that ability also, and some people don't. So I'm going to say, if you can do that and mute them both, fantastic. If you can't mute them both, that's okay too. At least try to mute the low E string, because that's like the danger note. So at least mute the A, and then the other string doesn't really hurt the chord that much. Let's talk about why we're muting these strings in the first place. On the A chord, we had an X on the low E string. On the D chord, we have an XX on the low E string and the A string. There's a concept in music called the root of a chord. Now, the root of a chord is a lot like the root of a tree. The root of a tree is the lowest part of a tree, and everything else comes up on top of it, right? The root of a chord is the same thing. It's the lowest note of the chord, and it's the note that we should hear on the bottom of the chord. Matter of fact, it's the note that gives the chord its name, actually. The root of an A major chord is the note A. The root of a D major chord is the note D. The root of an E major chord, E. The root of an E minor chord, E. The root of an E diminished chord, E. E anything, E. If we hear another note that isn't the root, it sounds kind of weird. It usually sounds not offensive necessarily to our ears, but it's not as pleasant as if we hear the bottom note. For example, here's a D major chord. Now I'm being careful to mute the low E string and A string so that there are no notes. And that sounds great, right? Sounds fine. If I don't mute, tell me what you think of this chord. Now that's just muddy, right? Now if I mute those 2 strings again, really tightens up the sound. So the root of a chord is that the note we're supposed to hear on the bottom. So that's the note we should be hearing. That's why we X out some of the strings sometimes. That's how we then play a D major chord. And if I were you, I would practice by doing the thing we do with the E chord and the A chord as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. This is a song off of my greatest hits album called D major. Finger the chord. Oh, there's a dead guy. Fix the dead guy. If they're all ringing, great, strum. Mute, take your hand off and do this, and then put it back on. And what that does, it's a hard reset of the approach to the chord. It's going to help you memorize how to approach a D chord from scratch.